Hi there, I hope you're good. Continuing with our shadow work in politics series, where we're delving into our personal shadow playing out in the political arena collectively. Today, we're talking about our collective relationship with power. Now, politics is about power. Who determines how the government runs, how the country runs, how the states run, how the municipalities run, how the provinces run, etc., really does depend on who has the power. So, as people, when those who have power over us are abusing their power that we give them over ourselves, we really do need to look at our relationship with power. Because when we don't, what will happen is we'll remove one rotten person only to replace them with a far more rotten version of that person, because we still are not looking at what does what is playing out reflect back to us about our collective relationship with power. Now, power starts off at birth. Your mother has the power to terminate her pregnancy as soon as she finds out that she's pregnant. So if she decides to birth you and raise you, or whomever raises you, that person wields a lot of power over you. And that power is a total form of power, because you are completely helpless as a child until you grow some level of autonomy by knowing how to walk and how to talk, etc. Then you have some autonomy over yourself, but generally speaking, there's still a power dynamic playing out between you and your caregivers or you and your parents throughout your life. Even as an adult, there's still a level of power in the dynamic between you and your parents as an adult child. So we can't neglect to look at that as a formation of our collective relationship with power. What does your culture say about power? What does your religion say about power? So if you come from a culture that doesn't question those in power and doesn't hold them to account, you're not going to suddenly start doing that with your politicians. That's not going to happen. You're going to feel guilty, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel wrong, and you're going to feel ashamed because your primary relationship with power was one where you had no rights to question, you had no rights to hold them to accountability, and the power was up to them to wield and to do with as they so please. It was not up to you to determine how they use the power that they have over you. Now, unlike our parents, where we too will become adults one day and we will have a high level of autonomy over ourselves as adult people, it doesn't work like that with the government. If we put people in power, they usually have a certain level of carte blanche. Even when there's a rule of law and a constitutional democracy and laws and courts, all of these things are also power structures that also fall into our collective relationship with power. So saying that someone has a tenure or someone has accountability in the form of checks and balances in government is not enough when it comes to dissecting our collective relationship with power itself. You are not suddenly going to hold your minister accountable for how they run their department if your relationship psychologically with power is that because they have that position, you are not allowed to question them. If their position in your mind makes them superior to you, you're not going to suddenly question them just because they're not doing a good job. So, today, we're not going to be dismantling ministers because we're not happy with them. We are going to hold them accountable. But in order to do that, we need to look at our individual and collective relationship with power. In your life, where do you give power to people? And do you hold those people accountable for the power that you give to them? Where do other people give power to you? And are you open to being held accountable for the power that they give to you? Or do you feel entitled to it? And do you think that that power gives you the right to then lord yourself over those people as a god or as their demigod? These are the kinds of questions that we look at when we are dealing with personal shadow work as it's playing out in the political space.